Something D&D is sorely missing is the need for more class fantasies. So today, we're gonna fix that, and I'm doing it by the book. Today, we're going over the Stormbringer. So starting off, what is a Stormbringer? Smashing things with a giant electrified hammer and calling down lightning to smite your enemies? That's the kind of class fantasy that I can get behind. Some of you may imagine something different, but hey, if you want me to do another class or type of build, let me know in the comments, and honestly, I'll probably do it. Anyways, let's clearly define our goals for the Stormbringer. Goal number 1, a Stormbringer needs some level of spellcasting in order to summon lightning. Pretty obvious. Goal number 2, a Stormbringer needs a big hammer. And goal number 3, a Stormbringer needs a way to empower their attacks with lightning. Now, with our goals clearly defined, let's talk about the details. Well, starting off, I believe the Stormbringer is best suited for the race of a chromatic dragonborn, specifically a blue dragonborn. This race is completely optional, but it does get you some bananas bonuses for choosing this race. First, you get the classic Dragonborn Lightning Breath that you can use in place of an attack on your turn. It's not technically as strong as the classic Dragonborn Breath, but that's okay because of the other features you get. And since you're a Dragonborn, you get Draconic Resilience, which effectively grants you resistance to lightning damage. And the arguably most important or holy grail feature here is Chromatic Warding, which allows you to use an action to grant yourself immunity to lightning damage for an entire minute. This, I think, is not only thematic, but is also an incredibly useful tool specifically because of other things I have planned in this build. But again, the race is entirely optional, up to you how you want to do it, because a lot of what we're going to get is going to be the class features, which we'll jump into right now. So I actually used a combination of 3 classes in creating the Stormbringer. The level breakdown is like this: 8 levels into Tempest Cleric, 7 levels into Storm Sorcery Sorcerer, and 5 levels into the Hexblade Warlock. The order of these is entirely up to you, but there are some certain features that you should focus on or prioritize before you go all into one of these classes. So let's go over what each class gives you. The Tempest Cleric right off the bat grants you proficiency with heavy armor as well as martial weapons, but the real feature we want is at 2nd level, and that is called the Destructive Wrath Channel Divinity. This allows you, whenever you deal lightning or thunder damage, to use your Channel Divinity to instead just deal max damage. And considering the spells that you get access to, this is an incredibly powerful ability and honestly the core of the entire build. At level 4, rather than an ability score improvement, we opt for a feat, specifically the Warcaster feat, because we get advantage on concentration checks while holding spells, we get the ability to cast spells while holding a 2-handed weapon, and rather than make an opportunity attack with a melee weapon, you can instead cast a spell, which is a nice bonus. This is super important for the build, so make sure you get it as early as possible. At level 6, you get Lightning Bolt Strike, which, whenever you deal lightning damage, allows you to push a creature 10 feet away. Since you will be dealing pretty much purely lightning damage, you could do this each time, and there's really no limit per turn, so you could have some strong control here with this ability. And finally, at level 8, we get Divine Strike and another feat. Divine Strike allows you to add a d8 of lightning damage whenever you strike with a melee weapon once per turn. The feat that we decide to go with here depends entirely on your playstyle, but it's between the Elemental Adept Lightning and Great Weapon Master. Elemental Adept allows our lightning spells to ignore resistance, and whenever you roll a 1 on lightning damage, you can instead treat it as a 2. This ensures that no matter what we roll, even if we roll all 1s on a spell like Lightning Bolt, instead of dealing 8 damage, we will deal 16 damage. But the real champ of Elemental Lightning Adept is the fact that it allows you to ignore lightning resistance. This could also be looked at as a double-edged sword, however, because technically, if you get hit with your own lightning spell, you would take full damage as well, unless you're immune to it. If you would rather play it a little bit more safe, you can instead take Great Weapon Master, which is always a good option for 2-handed fighting. Those are totally up to you depending upon how you want to play the class. And that's it for the Cleric. Now let's cover the Sorcerer. At level 1, we get Tempestuous Magic, which allows us to fly 10 feet for free whenever we cast a spell, and it does not provoke attacks of opportunity. This is a really cool feature. You can literally run up, shock and grasp your enemy, and as the wind whirls around you, it lifts you up into this really cool epic backflip, super cool like. Definitely not necessary, but super cool flavor-wise and honestly still incredibly useful. At level 2 and 3, we get Sorcery Points and Meta Magic. The Meta Magic options that we're going to want is the Transmuted spell and the Quicken spell. Transmuted, as you may have guessed, changes the spell's damage type to lightning at the cost of 1 sorcery point. This is another core feature of this build for obvious reasons. Quicken Spell allows you to cast a spell that is usually a full action as a bonus action, which is great for our type of build. Quicken Spell Lightning Bolt, then run up and smack him with the hammer, easy peasy. Or run up, smack him with a hammer, do a quick backflip, then Lightning Bolt Quicken Spell. Awesome. And then finally, at 6th level, you get Heart of the Storm and Storm Guide. Storm Guide allows you to control the rain and wind around you, but Heart of the Storm is the big one that we're looking at here. Whenever you cast a lightning or thunder spell, you can choose any number of creatures you want to take half your sorcery level in damage. And this happens whenever you cast a leveled lightning spell. While half your sorcery level isn't that much because you're only going to max out at level 7, it's still incredibly versatile since you can do this on any creature within 10 feet that you choose. Specifically because the Stormbringer is going to want to be in melee range, which brings us to our final class, the Hexblade Warlock. This is where the melee aspect for the build really comes into play. At level 1, we get Hex Warrior and Hexblade's Curse. Hexblade Curse is a bonus action you can cast on an enemy that allows you to crit on a 19 or 20, allows you to add your Charisma proficiency bonus to the damage, and you heal when you kill an enemy. Hex Warrior is the big one here because it allows us to replace Dexterity or Strength and use Charisma for all attack and damage rolls. Considering we have heavy levels in Sorcerer, Charisma is a pretty big stat for us. That is an easy extra 4 damage every single attack that we make. At level 2, we get Eldritch Invocations, specifically Improved Pack Weapon and Devil's Sight. Devil's Sight is just a personal favorite of mine, not necessary. You can really choose whatever other one you want. Improved Pack Weapon is the really important one here. That makes your weapon your spellcasting focus and allows you to add a +1 to all attack and damage rolls made with that weapon. Now, level 3, we get another level of that with Pact of the Blade, which allows you to magically create a weapon like a Great Axe, Great Sword, or a Maul. And since it's your packed weapon, you gain all the bonuses I previously mentioned. And finally, at level 5, we get our third Eldritch Invocation for Thirsting Blade. This gives you 2 attacks for each attack action that you make. And like that, you now have 2 attacks, as well as the ability to replace one of those with your breath weapon if you chose Chromatic Dragonborn. And that's it for the class features. Now, obviously, 3 classes means there is a lot of stuff to remember, so I'll quickly go over some key aspects, give suggestions on what to focus on first, and then quickly go over the spells that we're looking at. I think Sorcerer is probably where you want to focus your levels first. At least dumping your first 5 levels into Sorcerer gets you 3rd level spells, a decent amount of sorcery points, your transmuted spells meta magic, as well as 1 necessary feat of Warcaster. After you put 5 levels into Sorcerer, you should put the next 2 into the Tempest Domain Cleric so you can get your Chain of Divinity Destructive Wrath. This ensures that you can make your big lightning spell deal max damage whenever you like, which conveniently, being a level 5 Sorcerer, gives you access to Lightning Bolt, or Lightning Ball, transmuting Fireball into Lightning, which makes for a clean 48 damage if you use your Channel Divinity. After that, you are free to focus whatever levels you prefer depending upon how you want to play your Stormbringer class. Like I said, my preference is the melee caster hybrid, but you might want to just dump the rest of your stats into something like Sorcerer or Cleric depending upon how you imagine your character. And with that done, the final thing we want to look at is going to be the spells. I'm not going to go over the entire spell list because there's a bunch, but I will definitely name a few key ones. The lightning and thunder spells you should 100% always take are pretty obvious, but they're Lightning Lure, Shocking Grasp, Thunderclap, Thunder Wave, Call Lightning, Lightning Bolt, Thunder Step, all of those good guys. However, since we have transmuted meta magic at our disposal, we aren't just restricted to those spells, since we can technically make any damaging spell a lightning spell as well. Spells like Fireball, Tidal Wave, Snowball Swarm, Burning Hand, and Absorb Elements are all some really important spells that you should also pick up. Considering at 5th level you have 5 sorcery points, you can transmute 5 spells to lightning damage as you see fit. And to whet your palate, let's go ahead and finish off with a hypothetical turn for a level 20 Stormbringer. First, we're going to quicken spell a lightning bolt at 8th or 9th level. Since every class we chose is a full spellcaster, we have access to all of our spell slots, which means 13d6 or 14d6 damage depending upon what level spell you use. If you go ahead and do that and max damage, you're going to deal a cool 84 damage from a quickened bonus action spell. Then you're going to get a free activation of your Heart of the Storm for 4 additional lightning damage to any enemy you choose within 10 feet, totaling 88 damage against one enemy. If you chose a Chromatic Dragonborn, you can spend your action to make a melee attack with your Maul packed weapon. Since you're taking the attack action, you will get to attack twice, meaning you can attack once for 2d6 plus 4, being your Charisma modifier, and an extra d8 lightning damage for your Divine Strike, bringing your total roughly to 97 points of damage. For your second attack, however, you can replace it with your Lightning Breath for 4d10 lightning damage and utilize the other charge of your Channel Divinity to max that damage to 40. This would bring your total damage for one turn to roughly 140 damage depending upon your weapon rolls. Now, if you didn't choose the Chromatic Dragonborn and instead went with something else, I would probably spend my action to cast Shocking Grasp against an enemy and use my Channel Divinity to max the lightning damage against them, thereby dealing 32 damage, bringing your total to roughly around 130 in one round. And if I wasn't already clear, the Hexblade is only in this build because my imagination imagines a melee caster hybrid. You don't have to have that if you want to go Soul Spellcaster. I just preferred it because simply that's what I imagine when I think of a Stormbringer. There is no right or wrong way to play a class, and it is all up to you how you want to play it. But that, my friends, is how you build a Stormbringer in 5e. If you liked the video, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Also, if you think I missed anything or have a better Stormbringer build, make sure to leave a comment and share it with everyone. I read every comment, almost always reply, and who knows, I might even feature your comment in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you on Friday.